Hey guys, it's Avon with Two Review. Thank you so much for joining me on the second episode of what I'm currently playing. Today's game is Jenny LeClue-Detectivu. So as you can guess, it's a mystery game. So who's this mystery man? Why is he wandering around in the pouring rain? Why is it hard to leave Arthurton? Can Jenny LeClue really solve these mysteries? Let's find out. Here's a first impression of Jenny LeClue-Detectivu. So off the bat, we have this ominous, mysterious vibe going around. Who is this mystery man? We're going to call him Mr. X because we don't really know much about him in the beginning of the game. But why is he out here in the middle of the dark, pouring rain, just wandering around, going to a boat? Now, the only reason why you would be out here in a torrential downpour, just doing very suspicious things, is because you're trying to hide something. So you're definitely the villain. Now, as Mr. X cruises on by in this lake, he suddenly slows down to a stop at a very peculiar rock. Why is that? So part of the secret is unveiled. There is a secret underneath this rock. So we stumble across a puzzle that we need to solve. This little switch unlocks something under this rock. Now, to be completely honest, this was a little bit cringe for me because it took me a lot longer than it should have to actually figure this out. So here's a little bit of my cringe so you could see what I had to go through. So the puzzle's complete. Something bizarre is happening. What is happening? There is a random tube appearing from underneath the boat. Who would have a creepy tube just come up from underneath the lake? Like, what? So after seeing this, I'm going to assume that we're going to meet Jenny now. Because we've met the villain, and normally that's what happens in these type of stories. The villain is always introduced, and then you meet the heroine. Now, when I played this, it did throw me for a loop because I didn't understand that this game was actually being played as a story. So what I mean by the game being played as a story is all the stuff that we just played is pretext due to this character. This is Arthur Finkelstein. He is the author of Jenny LeClue. This is all a story, and all the narration composes like what will happen in the game with you. You also get to make choices within the game that can shape your story. So the gameplay that we just played through in the beginning with Mr. X, that is foreshadowing for what's to come in his story. So fast forwarding through, we see that he's gotten that phone call with his angry manager telling him, step it up, man, let's go. And we finally get to do some gameplay. We go to his typewriter and we get to see what is on his desk. We get to see what led up to why he has to rewrite a different story regarding Jenny and why it needs to be more sinister, more dangerous, more evil. So looking through the clues and what we find on his desk, we're seeing that sales are very low for the current series of Jenny LeClue, and this is going to be his last chance to publish anything in regards to Jenny LeClue. So as we're sifting through this type of information on his desk, I have a feeling that we need to remember certain types of information throughout the game. When we're sifting through, there's going to be hidden things that we need to remember for a later event within the game, which is great because that's all part of a mystery. Those are clues that lead up to the plot, like what is going to happen to this person. So this is perfect. Now it does line it up. It is slow to line it up to that point, but let's see where this takes us. So as Arthur starts a different story of Jenny LeClue, he writes her in as dead. Why? Why is she dead already? So as Arthur continues with the story, we see that her eyes open. Okay, so she's not really dead. And it looks like she's in a classroom. So now we're introduced to two characters. We're introduced to Jenny and Jenny's mom. So we do have some character development here. Jenny is the daughter of a great detective. As you can see, Miss LeClue is the one that's teaching the class right now. So she learned from the best, and Jenny understands that. So this is where we get that detective type sense in the game. Now, do we actually get to play detective in this classroom? We haven't interacted anything in the game since we looked at Arthur's typewriter. So hopefully soon. All right, so now we finally get to play part of the mystery game. This is where we get to figure out how Jenny died in this fake murder. Now, the biggest thing that you have to understand is looking at the clues, but you have to remember what exactly each clue means. So every time you hover over something, read the bottom text and listen to what it has to say. So during the clue search, it's very important that you remember each clue, because this does help in the process where you try to figure out how she was actually murdered. Now, there's going to be two phases in the deductive reasoning process. So the first part is trying to debunk the obvious way that she died, which is slipping on the floor and cracking her head open. The second is coming out with how she died realistically. What was her actual cause of death other than looking at the obvious? So this part I found really interesting, because if you think about it, that's how real murders are solved. Just because the obvious is there does not mean that they actually died this way. There's small little clues to show that they could have died from poisoning, they could have died from like strangulation or anything of that sense. But it's finding the small little things that can tie the whole case together. So now that I've got a taste of like what the gameplay is going to be like, I want to put in my 2 cents for what I think my first impression is. It's a great game. However, I will say leading up to the story, it does take some time. This footage for the actual gameplay is 30 minutes long. I've cut it down to about 8 minutes because of how long the story takes to get to where you need to be. But overall, I think I would still continue to play this. I am intrigued by the story to see what happens to Jenny and what is going on in Arthurton. So this wraps it up for this episode of Jenny LeClue First Impressions. I am going to come out with a second video in regards to it. There's just a lot of content to cover for it, so stay tuned for that. Also, if you like this type of content, please remember to like and subscribe. That'd be greatly appreciated. And as always, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye!